Yeah, it's not possible to do everybody's story without that person giving the story. So this is as close as I can get to giving you this information and making it personal without having to spill the beans on everything going on in your life. I spilled the beans on my own, so like, but you can just, so I show you just so that that's what I got. It really is a useful guidance to me. So you got to be hungry enough to not settle for just a few ideas. You want to go in and feel this out and feel who you are. You feel your way through the progressed new moon and feel where your security is coming. So in this chart, okay, I'm gonna move this along. There's the phase that she's going through is the waning half moon phase. There it is there, 2018. There's the opposition, especially quadrate, then the square. So it's starting the square phase, the half moon phase, and it's waning. It's not the conjunction, it's going back to conjunction. So this is the waning half moon phase, okay? And during this phase, these are the aspects that are coming up. So you read the moon phase and you get the idea of the general theme that you're having to work with, what you're working through. That'll make sense in terms of history and what you're supposed to do. Then you see the challenges or disruptions around it. 2016, the moon's conjunct Pluto. That's the frustration. That's New Year's Day, but really December, January. So it's just fed up with family. Then by 2017, it went into Virgo. Then it went into the 6th house. 2018, it squared the nodes. By 2018 December, it conjuncted Mars. So that's really different energy. I got to do something. I have to do something. Then it conjuncted. Then it went into Libra. It conjuncted the moon. The moon conjuncted the sun. And 2020, that's 2020. The moon conjuncts the sun. So that's going to put the feelings into the confidence behind the sun. So that's going to build. That's not a new moon. That's the transit progressed moon coming up and conjuncting where the being where the sun is. So it's reinforcing the work, the health. That's a good aspect. Squares the midheaven, challenges the work. Conjuncts the Venus, that brings, it comes up, it will conjunct the Venus, brings some reward, hits the descendant, it's going to hit the Venus, conjunct the Neptune, that's a dream, living in dream, conjunct the Mercury, and then it goes into Scorpio and squares Uranus. So, okay, so she has a fairly nice role of these basic specific things while the waning half moon is going on. And she gets it, like, I know she goes back and forth between Toronto and Sedona and lives in Sedona through the winters. So maybe that year she spends much more time. She might spend a year down there, or more time down there. Certainly there's more of a dream time there. And then it comes out there may be some change with family or some shock that may interfere with some of the time going down. She's been going back and forth. And, but the new moons, she's coming from she had the full moon eclipse was in 2011. That was a full moon eclipse. And the new moon is coming up in 2026. So that's coming up to the most spiritual, and it's just 8th to 9th house. So that's coming up to one of the most spiritual times. So it's going up around career, it's building to up. She's too valuable to retire, too much going on to be able to stop working. But she's going to be making more and more room for more mystical things as she goes along. And that's a key point of who she knows, what she's around, where she's being at that point. If there's a spiritual meeting or conference or place or some special place to be, she's got to position herself for January 31st, 2026. If she's still going down to Sedona, then she's got to go to some holier space, a special place in that time and have some ritual and reinforce her, build on the new moon. That's an eclipse, so that's especially powerful on a spiritual level. And it becomes more complicated if you're putting that energy out just to work or to others. You need to take some time and be working on some fasting or some discipline to go towards your new moon. Okay. Moon. Okay, 8. Here we go. This is Lahore. And we'll just check the moon phase first. It's the, I went the wrong way. Okay. Here's our moon phase printout, which we did. Okay, so you get it's getting the information and organizing it and putting it in context in the right place, the right sequence. So you can this is a waxing new moon phase. He just had his new moon phase August 18th of 2017. That was the deep impression. So you want to know what happened then, because some deep, profound inner awareness would have come up at that point. They may see it by what they were doing, but there was also some deep impression being made at that time. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably the time that I met him and I did a session with him or something. I think that's the time we began to, he was working in music, I believe, and this is, if my memory serves me right, that this is around the time after that he always had a mystical background, but I think he began his astrology during this period. And then was here, went back there, and international band went back, and probably is struggling to maintain he's had the inner impression. Now he has to work to develop it. And 2017, the moon went into Aries. See, there's the new one at 651. It squared Venus, but by 2018, by the next year in June, the moon will post Pluto. There's some confrontation or a threat to one's security. But by October 31st, it went into the 8th house of deeper understanding and trust. And by March of this year, it posed itself, so some struggle with habits or family. Moon goes into Taurus in March. By April of this year, the square Jupiter, struggle on what's right, what's wrong, what's understanding, is trying to figure things out. By 2020, next year, next October, this moon opposes Uranus, and there's going to be an instinct to move or break away from the past. But at the same time, the moon will square Mars, so there'll be some disruption or some anger around, some frustration around this. So, and then it moves into the 9th house, 2021, to where he can start, his tendency, his need is going to be to work, to live his philosophy more, live his understanding more, and possibly to travel more. So maybe a band gets together again and it takes another tour or something. But this is during his whole phase of this waxing new moon phase. He's had the new impression. He's going on it, but it's too soon. Like when you have a new moon phase, there's an interesting thing. At the new moon phase, you have the greatest darkness. It's 2.5 days before you can see that crescent moon. So in the Muslim world and in indigenous peoples, they celebrate that crescent moon. When you first see that first sliver of light of the moon, that's the beginning of the cycle where you can start things. It's really lucky. Until then, it's more the spiritual cycle within, the more shamanistic or inward time. So if 2017 in August was the time he had the new moon, in 2018, 2019 August, so by time this winter, by the end of this winter, if not a bit before, that crescent moon should be coming, and he'll start feeling the light moving out. And by the time the classes are finished, boom, he'll start to see the benefit he's got from it, how he can use it, and his world will start moving forward. Other things are going on. This is the progressive moon about feeling secure. Okay, so let's. So just even with the new moon, knowing the moon phase and seeing this, you can work with this. What this does is it puts it out across a lifetime where you can see he started his life. His new moon in 1988 was an eclipse in the 6th house. So that was an eclipse, and it was close to opposing the Saturn. So this was like a fairly restricted complete. It's still a deep impression, but it's at a young age and it's something to do with parents and other restrictions around him. But it was very formative, and it built up to the full moon, which was an eclipse in 1989. No, not 1989. The full moon was 2003. In May of 2003, it got to the full moon. He saw where it's going to. He's seeing at the point. It's still a revelation, but it's still, there's an inner sensitivity need to, if something happened inwardly more than outwardly. But then once he's past that, he's finished his eclipse phases. It hits his descendant. It has descended in 1989. He started moving outward and getting out a bit more. Hit the new moon in 2017, and that's a big, deep impression about it's in relationships, it's in the 7th house, it's in Aries, about what I'm going to do, where am I going to be, what I'm doing, and started changing things. But the impression for change in there, it may take a couple of years before it really starts showing as the moon passes that. Because the moon picks up the sun energy, and carries it forward and builds up the light around it until it takes it as far as it can to the next new moon, the next full moon. And that would be 2033. So these are phases. I mean, this is music, you know, you have these tides and these phases going on. Okay, so, but his progressed sun is steadily, it's moved above the descendant, it's moving up towards the midheaven. It's not going up to the midheaven, it's moving 7th, 8th house. He's not moving to be more alone. He's moving towards partnerships, towards sharing, to commitments and doing something meaningful in the community somewhere that he believes in. What's his confidence? His confidence is the sun and Mars need us. He's got to do something creative. You know, and so this builds up. So you're not concluding anything. You take the moon phase as a guideline, you see the steps that are coming in, you're going to navigate across this. And these are these challenges when you have the stress points, and you need to be working a little, you put a little more meditation or a little more chanting or a little more prayer in it at the times, and it really diminishes the karma associated with these aspects. If you don't do anything spiritual, then it comes in as outer harshnesses that you're trying to understand and you don't. Let's just go on here to 9. Okay, this one down.